So let's get going. We'll start off with our element shape. I will skip through the first three for a second as we will come to them later. They have different types of shapes for each of these. But we'll start off with linking a shape to a basic element. So as we can see here, we have a required shape data element. The format will be one of these four, being either the ID, the name of the element, the placeholder, this element. You can use this if you are creating the Visio on a certain element and you just want a shape for the element on which the Visio is located. So you can use this placeholder for that. There's also different ones you can use, such as this element ID and this DataMiner object ID, but we'll cover more on placeholders in an intermediate level module. Lastly, you can also use an asterisk, which will refer to the context of the shape. So later we will see that we can group shapes as well. And in that case, we will use an asterisk, for instance, to refer to a parent shapes element. But more on that in later modules. We'll just start off on our DMA here. You can use your own DMA or staging DMA for this if you want to test for yourself. We go to the right-click menu, go to Set as Active Visio File. We want a new blank. Click Yes. It's opening Visio file, and it will open Visio right here on my other screen. This is a recovered file, as I've been working with this before, but I don't want to use all of this, so I will just delete it. Just delete all of the shapes on there, and then grab the rectangle tool right here at the top. Click and start dragging. And we have our first shape. I'll just color it so it looks a bit nicer. Remove the line as well. And here we have our first shape. I'll use the advanced editing panel for now, so I can easily select from this drop down that I want an element. So I start typing element, it selects this one, and it adds shape data to the shape. And I want to link it to my IRD. So I will type IRD1, IRD01. And just to test, I want to duplicate the shape. So I control click and drag. And I also want to link it through the ID as well as through this card object ID, for instance. So let's check my ID right here. So the ID here is 17/25356. I'll copy this and go back to Visio, and I change IRD01 to this. I will add one more shape, which will automatically link to my current card object. So that will also be IRD01. And then we can see here this card object ID, and this entire part will then be replaced by the ID of the card object. So it will actually come down to the same thing as this. Save it. If we now check in Visio, we can see I have a couple of shapes. Note that this yellow color is not the same as this. I can show you that real quick. If I put it in blue, this remains yellow. Why? Because this actually automatically will show you the alarm color of your element. So in this case, it's in a major alarm state. We can right click a shape or we can left click it. The left click action will be the same as the action you see here in bold font. So this will open the element card if we are not already on there, of course. You can also choose to open it in a new card, a new undocked card. Most of the things that you find in the surveyor context menu will also be in here, along with, for instance, edit mode, which we won't cover in this module. But yeah, there's the same right-click menu items in here as you will find both here and here partially. To show you the left click, I can maybe create a Visio on my view. So I go to a new blank Visio here as well. Delete everything. And now I want to actually copy over the shape from earlier. So I will go back to my other Visio file. I want to take this shape because I want to show you the same element shape on this view. Save it. So note if I copied over the shape, it also kept the same shape data. Go back to DataMiner Cube and we can see here we have an element shape and it says open IRD01. Right now I am on this view. If I click it, it will immediately navigate to IRD1. So this is very handy to quickly navigate your entire surveyor structure. So you can, for instance, create a map with several locations on there, or you can do it through your services as well, so open part of your services, things like that. Okay. So you can not only navigate to a certain card here, but you can also actually choose to, let me first go back to my elements Visio. You can also choose to navigate to certain pages. So if I create a second page here, I will quickly just add a shape on top to show this. This is the second page. No line and a blue fill color, for instance. Save it for my element. So I see I have two pages here now. And I will also go back to my view Visio. And I will copy this shape and I will actually put a pipe, so a vertical line behind it. And then enter the number 2. And this will mean it will actually navigate to the second page of my Visio file of that element. So I go back to my view here. It wasn't linked, so I need to save it again. So now I have two shapes that navigate to the element, but this one, if I click it, brings me to the second page immediately. Lastly, what I want to show you is, for page navigation, is that you can also choose to navigate not only to Visio pages, but also to other pages. So for instance, the data page, if I add some shape data here and I call it page, this is an existing shape data as we can see, and I enter data colon and then the modulator setup. This is one of my data page names on the IRD. And I save this. Need to go back to the view again. we can see here another shape, and if I click this one, it actually immediately brings me to the data page that I had in mind. So that's the page data that you can use as well, the page shape data. So let's go back to our element, IRD. I am already on my IRD, just not on the right page. And let's open element Visio again. I can go back to my first page and I will duplicate this shape. So the one with this card object ID. And now I want to actually display some info inside my shape. So I will put an asterisk in the shape and I will show you immediately what that asterisk will be replaced by. If I add shape data here and type info. And then in there I type name. Then this asterisk will be replaced by the result of this shape data. So the shape will be linked to this card object ID, and then I will show the name instead of the asterisk right here. So let's save this. And there we go. We can see which IRD the shape is linked to without having to hover over it. Can also directly link to parameters instead of elements. So if we go back to our PDF for a second, you can see parameters in here as well. This is for spectrum, but for regular parameters, this is the same thing. We can copy this shape again. And instead of info name, I will delete the shape data and I will add a new one, namely parameter. And I know this ID by heart, but you can look it up. I will show you in a second how. So we can see immediately the result of this parameter value. So if you want to know the ID of this parameter, you can double click the parameter, go to details. Then right here, you will see the parameter ID as well. So you can use this to enter in your parameter shape data for your shape. And then leave the asterisk and automatically it will be replaced by the actual parameter value. So this means if I change this as well, it will, if I go back to the Visio, it will change this value as well and note also, of course, the alarm color. Note that this is just a read parameter, so we will see in a second how we can change this to actually a parameter control or something, so you can set it as well. So as I mentioned from the PDF, we also have a spectrum parameter. This is defined with some other shape data as well, but I won't cover this in detail. Note that whenever you're curious about something, you can go to the DataMiner help. So this is dsp.skyline.be/help. And you can search for anything or you can navigate through our DataMiner help. If you just go to DataMiner functionality, for instance, and then you open Visio drawings, you get a lot of information on how to configure your Visio drawing. So for instance, if I'm curious in For my spectrum parameter, I can search for Visio spectrum parameter in this tab, and then we will be able to see on this page as well. If I look for spectrum here, you can see how to configure a spectrum parameter as well. So if you're ever wondering or unclear about something, this is more of an overview, is how you should see it. And then you can use DataMiner help to truly go into detail. But I realize it is often abstract, and that is why we are having this training, so you can learn how to utilize the help and files like this to enhance your Visio drawings.